is Jimmy time. So let's bring the Hazemeister, the Nelsonator, Mr. McJimster. Are you on the phone?
It is Jimmy time, Mr. Carl.
It is Jimmy time. What's up, man?
How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
You're looking good on the YouTube stream. You're holding up well. You're drinking your Shakeology, obviously, because you're looking energetic and glowing.
I had my shake at around 11, and thanks for saying that I'm shining, which means that I did cut my hair a little too short over the weekend. But look, I made a point earlier. You probably didn't hear it, but and I know we have you on with a specific topic of personal development, but I want to set the stage a little bit with a point I made earlier. And that is that personal development is critical to success in anything. And it's an important one of the 3 vital behaviors. But that being said, personally, I think it's very important that people don't go down a rabbit hole of personal development so that they end up not actually ever really engaging in the activity that will be productive. Personal development can feel really productive, kind of like finishing your homework, but at the end of the day, one of these days, you got to get out there and put it in use in the practical world. And people can just be mesmerized by leaders, incredible leaders that just want to help with their personal development product, but they can end up spending thousands of dollars. I've seen people do it, and that's the antithesis of what I want for people with this opportunity. I want people to be able to achieve personal development, but not go deeper in the hole of debt or spending, where what I'm trying to do is help them create wealth. So I wonder what your thoughts are on that. And do you feel it's necessary that we're investing in personal development as if it were a college degree?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked this question, because this has been a real passion and message of mine to my team. And this is my answer to that. As long as you are applying immediately what you learn, and one thing that we talk about with my team is we have a concept and we call it learn, do, tweak. And when I talk about this, I said the rest of your coaching life and the rest of your life in general, hopefully those things go hand in hand, the rest of your coaching life and the rest of your life, is learning something, applying it immediately, coming back to the team to say how did it go, tweaking the results, and going back out and doing it again. And the example I use, since it is football season, is I use it as a football play. We're going to huddle up, right? And that's your personal development, whether that's on your team call, that's you at Summit, that's the book that you're reading, that's the outside event that you decide to attend and invest in. You're going to huddle up. And the leader of that thing, the quarterback's calling the play. And we're going to go right back to the line of scrimmage, and we're going to run that play immediately. We're not going to call the play and then go sit on the sidelines. We're not going to call the play and then kind of pick the grass and sit down and think about the play. We're not going to process the play. We're not going to refocus on the play. We're going to go run that sucker. And so what's going to happen immediately is I may draw back to pass as the quarterback. The wide receiver is supposed to run a slant. They accidentally run the wrong route. I throw an interception. Play kind of goofed. You know what? Okay, that's all right. Come back. Let's huddle back up again. We're going to call the play again, and we're going to go do it immediately. And so the process of your personal development, and if you're investing in whether it's the success tab in your back office, or whether you're going to an outside event, or you're getting to something like Summit, as long as you're applying that immediately, I mean, I'm talking fast. You don't even have to understand all the concepts, but grab something that you learned today listening to The Surge, and put it into action now. That's the only way that you're going to make a return on your investment, because it's not learn, it's learn, do, tweak. And then you come back and see if that worked. And that's the only, Carl, that's the way I talk to other people is, if you haven't applied what you learned in the last piece of personal development that you invested in yet, I would pause. Because if you haven't applied what you learned already, then you are just chasing good money after bad money, going to the next event or the next training because it makes you feel good and makes you feel excited. But at the end of the day, if you don't activate these things, you're not impacting other people's lives. You're not changing your family's life. You're not improving your business or your life or your fitness. If you never apply these things, you're kind of like, and I did catch this part earlier because I drove up from Dallas to New Orleans today, and I've had the surge rolling the entire time. But you're just like you talked about. You're that forever student that never goes and activates the knowledge. Think of it, you're a ticking time bomb. You are an amazing, equipped warrior with all this personal development. If you're one of those people that you've been to event after event and read book after book, but you've never activated it, you're a lethal weapon full of information that can impact lives, but you got to pull the trigger. You got to detonate that bomb and impact somebody else. You got to put some action behind that knowledge.
Yeah, it's, the only thing that I would maybe just nuance a little bit is that for some, I know for me, I am not necessarily completely, I don't deploy what I learn in a constantly in a conscious way. I'm always reading, okay? And I think subconsciously, my personal development is having a dramatic effect. I mean, I read a book slow. It takes me a long time to finish a book because I'm consciously reading it. I'm not just reading it to get it done. And sometimes I feel kind of stupid, like, oh my God, it's taking me so long to read this brochure. But I'm so conscious about it, but I don't require myself to put it all into action. I just pay attention enough so that it can guide the way I operate and help me keep my tools really sharp. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, and I think that there's two, and all I can speak to is my own personal development, and I kind of have two paths of personal development. I have a training, so maybe that's like a Coach Basics group, because even though that's training people on how we run our business, it's also a form of personal development, in my opinion.
I agree.
And then I have whatever book I'm reading right now, that audio, that thing that's helping me just change my mindset that may be a little more, I hate to use the word passive, but kind of that cerebral approach that you don't really realize immediately the change it's making, but the next time you respond to something, the way you react to a situation, the way that you're living your life or running your business, you stop for a second and say, wow, I wouldn't have reacted that way or said that or been that bold or had that much confidence 6 months ago before I was reading that book. So I think you make a great point.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons it takes me so long to finish a book is, I literally, like Mike said, I have this Kindle, and I probably have 8 books going at any given time. Okay, so like right now I got David versus Goliath, I got the history of IBM, I got Nudge, I got.
Are you loving David and Goliath? I'm reading it right now myself.
Yeah, it's really good. Again, I'm reading it so slow that I can't make it broad. I'm probably on the 3rd chapter or something, but it's it's really fascinating, particularly this idea that your weaknesses are critical in your success, and embracing that is actually a really big deal to me, and helps me understand why I'm good at certain things and not so good at other things, and not beating myself up quite so much about that. So anyway,
I think it also plays right into coaches. I mean, it's really speaks to me. I guess so. 3-time college dropout here, so if I can do this business, any of you guys can. I wasn't good in English. But for those of you that are listening, they're looking for a book. The book that Carl and I are talking about is Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote Blink and The Tipping Point and Outliers, has a new book called David and Goliath that talks about advantages not necessarily being advantages and some disadvantages actually being your advantage. And I thought of this immediately in my coaching business to think, it's so easy for us to say, oh, that person has the better weight loss story, that's their advantage. Or I don't have a weight loss story yet, that's my disadvantage. Or they have a better sponsor coach. Or there's all these things that we make up in our brain on why we have a disadvantage versus some other coach that may be having more success, or that we perceive has a more successful business than we do. And it's just been a real eye-opener for me that a lot of the things that I consider disadvantages growing up are what make me, me, and what makes my story powerful to those people that relate with me.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because there is that part of the book I didn't quite totally follow his big fish, small pond thing, because he was talking about, anyway, I don't want to get into it and confuse everybody watching this, but
Right.
I could see how, particularly people who listen to these calls and the Monday, and they hear from leaders how coaches could judge themselves quite harshly in the through the microscope of looking at our successful coaches and thinking that that's where they should be versus accepting that where they are is exactly where every coach has been at some point, and it's just going to take work and paying attention to get to that next level. And not judging yourself against the fact that some people succeed over the course of a matter of years, some people succeed over the course of a matter of months, but everybody had to work hard.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that that's so key, that if there is a coach that's listening to this, that you find yourself, and it happens to everybody, comparing yourself, well, I couldn't do that, or this coach has achieved this faster than I have, and you're having kind of those negative self-talk, doubts. That's just evidence that personal development is vital for you. And for people that don't know my story, Beachbody helped me lose 100 pounds. And for that, I'm always extremely thankful. But it wasn't until the coaching aspect introduced me to personal development that the biggest change happened. Because even at 100-pound weight loss, I didn't respect or like the guy in the mirror. I didn't respect him. I didn't think that anybody who would follow you, who would listen to you, you're not a leader. Like, I had 30 years of baggage of negative self-talk that was still inside me that didn't go away when the 100 pounds went away. And I wondered why I was struggling so heavily with my coaching business early on, because I did have this success story that I thought should help other people, but I was self-sabotaging myself. And it wasn't until you guys came along to that very first leadership and kind of introduced personal development, and I was late to the personal development train. I didn't buy into it. It seemed like hocus pocus to me. And then finally, I just started listening to audios. I'm not a big reader. It's hard for me to sit and focus and read. But I just started sticking audios on my iPod back there and on my phone now to literally when I wake up in the morning, my personal development is not always active listening. Sometimes it's just on in the background because I needed to flush out that negative guy in my head. I needed to flush out and create a confident leader that could impact other people because I had this story that could impact people's lives, but if I didn't believe in myself to share the story, then those people would have never been impacted. So it would have actually been kind of selfish of me not to do my personal development and gain that confidence and to be able to impact others, to share my story, to be able to go out and touch somebody else's life. So if somebody out there is really struggling with that negative self-talk, I would ramp up that 15 to 20, 30 minutes that we talk about every day, and I would find extra time to seep that in your day. And that's what I do. Anytime I find some spare time, instead of having just blank noise on the background or even the radio sometimes, I will put on personal development because I know that's just making me stronger, even if I'm listening to it in a passive manner.
So Jimmy, with all of that and balancing the personal development and, I know you work out a lot. You're proof the product works. I think I've seen you try just about every program we've put out recently. How do you work inviting into your schedule, and do you find one particular source of or type of inviting to be the best for you?
That's a great question. I share my life a lot via social media, and I think I got caught into a trap of feeling like everything had to be fitness for a little while. And I do post workouts and what I'm doing, but if people that follow me on Instagram or on my Facebook page or whatever, you'll see just as many pictures of me and my wife or my son and just life in general. And I find that the people that reach out to me, it's not always just about that weight loss. They get to see an example of our family, and they're just like, I want a piece of that. I want to be able to have that freedom. I want to have just the energy when I get home from the day to enjoy the family that I'm at work working so hard to try to support. And I've just found that the more I just am willing to be vulnerable with my life, the ups, the downs, instead of trying to be, now the fit guy or never showing, that I'm always eating right and I'm getting hit in every workout. If I just let people peek into my life a little bit, and then challenge them now and then, like and just invite who wants to step up. I've been able to do this. Something else that's really worked well for me is recently at leadership, I made a point to go over to some of the coaches whose stories I really admired the most and took pictures with them. And what I did is I was sharing it via social media saying, hey, let me introduce you to my friend Mindy Winder. Let me introduce you to my friend Tommy Migrant or Mike Ryan or Dave and Monica Ward or whoever I was taking pictures with, and shared their story and where they started and what they were able to overcome because of whether it was the fitness, whether it was Shakeology, the business, or all three. And the minute I just continued to share stories and stayed on the emotional aspect of where they were dissatisfied in their life and where they are now because of what we offer, then people just kind of start coming out of the woodworks asking, how do I get a piece of that?
They really out of the woodwork? I mean, really?
I get messages. Because you can message me on my Facebook and you can message me on my Instagram, and they'll say, hey, can you email me?
Yeah.
I want to talk. I mean, so I just lead by example that way, and then, we can get on the phone, or I can get them on email or a text message, or the 8 million ways there is to contact people these days. But I just always lead with being a product of the product first.
So we had a question earlier, and I want to, I don't know if you were already listening in the car or not, but we had a question from somebody who said, they were at the grocery store and there was this heavy-set guy with all the wrong food, and cigars or vodka or whatever. It was just a recipe for disease. And a lifestyle that could maybe use a tweak or a twerk. Couldn't we all use a twerk?
Maybe that's how we should end this series.
We should end with the Beachbody twerk. So the question was, how would you approach that person? What would you like? And I gave my own advice, but I just wonder, what would you do in that circumstance? So you're behind him in line, and you see that. Do you engage? What do you do? Can you imagine that scenario? And do you have an automatic go-to strategy?
Yeah, because I used to be that guy. In fact, Carl, you said, and I missed this part of the call earlier, so I didn't hear this example. But I remember. In one of my many college stops that started and failed, I worked at a bank for a little while, and this is when I was towards my heaviest. And I remember somebody that was, I think they were a distributor for another company way back before we ever launched coaching or anything like that. And he was a regular customer and just came in, and he approached me really weird about, you're a good-looking kid, you just need to lose a little weight. Or it was like something of that, like, however he did it turned me off so fast, because already being overweight, 100 pounds overweight, my self-esteem wasn't rocking at the time, obviously. So for somebody to lead with that, and he probably had the best intentions in the world, and you know what? He was right. I did just need to get a little healthy and have some confidence. But the way he approached it, man, I don't care if he had fitness in a magic wand bottle. Like, the conversation was done right there, because I was embarrassed, and I just wanted to get out of there. Embarrassed was probably the right word. So in that scenario, I would try to engage them like anybody else. Just a conversation, not necessarily with, you need to be in my challenge group in mind. I'm just looking to make a friend. And I tell my team this all the time, whether you're out at the grocery store like this scenario, at a game with your kids, if you're online, looking at people talking about fitness or our programs on Twitter, just try to make a friend. And so I may mention something about his shirt, if it's here, did you watch the Cowboy game on Sunday, or I just want to start a conversation with the guy and see if it goes anywhere, and know a little bit more about them. Another perfect example is, and I think it's Chalene Johnson, I think a lot of people have said this before, about work harder on being interested than being interesting.
Yeah.
And one other quick story about something that I had to change my approach is, I was at the grocery store one time, and I was opening my wallet to pay, and I had my business card inside that had my before and after pictures. And this guy behind me says, "Oh my gosh, is that really you?" And I jumped into my entire story. Like, I don't think he was ready for the 20 minutes that I was about to tell him my entire story about, losing 100 pounds and how I started with Power 90 and moved to P90X. And gave me the confidence to go to New York and be an actor. And at the end, I was like, so do you want me to give you some information about this? And he said, no.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but I just gave you the greatest story in the world that you should be inspired by. And instead, if I just would have flipped it and go, yeah, that's me. What do you do to work out? Or how are you, when, I do this now where if I wear and share, if somebody sees me in my insanity shirt, hey, do you do that insanity? I go, I do a little bit of it. Do you? And I put it right back up. So I just want to get to know them.
Right.
And it's funny how quickly people, complete strangers, will let you know where they're dissatisfied in your life. And I really don't think that there is a portion of our lives that somebody could be dissatisfied with that we don't have a solution for.
Yeah. Well, two things. First, I think it's amazing. Could be one of the most concrete examples for people to use the rest of November as they are working on generating challenge groups. What you just said, this concept of just as quickly as possible turn it into a question back to them. That is incredibly good advice, and that's what I was talking about when I said you need to master the art about finding out how you can ask a question and care and turn it into an opportunity to care about a person. That is the art form here. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing, I'm going to contradict myself, especially to the new coach who has gotten a lot of advice, especially if they watch this whole darn thing. Thank you, by the way, and I'm sorry for my shiny head. But I just want to say that the fact that you went into that whole story was okay. And I don't want people to be like, ooh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be the one that shows my before and afters and then jumps into a whole story and then the guy says no. So who cares? They're going to say no anyway. You're going to have hundreds of people are going to say no anyway. The point is, Jimmy had a conversation that day. Something happened, his card fell out of his wallet or whatever it was. It started a conversation. It didn't materialize into a sale, into a new challenger, but it did start a conversation. That in and of itself is an invitation. So it's important that we don't get so wrapped up in the perfection of it and not wanting to get to know that we end up trying to thread this needle of perfection to have Carl said the art is to turn it around into a conversation. If you're not used to it, you just got to get out there and you got to have conversations and you got to get on Facebook and have conversations. I've seen founding coaches with this incredible opportunity. Imagine being a founding coach in this huge organization, underneath you. And I go to a Facebook page, you wouldn't even know they were a coach. Wouldn't even know it. Like, incredible opportunity, and they're just not engaged. Part of it is being engaged and putting it out there. So anyway, Jimmy, I think, I can remember when the strategy of putting it on a business card and everything, that was quite popular. Do you still do that? Do you find that effective, of having your before and afters on a business card?
It actually worked that time. I don't carry business cards anymore. I do carry before and afters of me, coaches I know, my team on my phone, if that part of the conversation pops up. But the reason, anytime somebody asks me, can I get one of your business cards, I would say, oh man, I'm fresh out. Why don't you just put your email address in the notes section of my phone and I'll get you the information. Because I always want to leave that conversation with the other person's information because it's my business. I want to control that. And I know how many people have handed me a business card that I had every intention of getting back to them, and I don't. I have a huge stack of business cards on my desk at home. And so I would rather, let me get the information and I'll shoot you something. Or sometimes I will text them right then so he has my information or she has my information, but I also have theirs in my phone so I can follow up. Right. Because the fortune's in the follow-up, as we all know, and I want to be in control of that. I want to be able to check in on that person, even if they're not ready to jump into my challenge group right now or they're not into Shakeology. I know in a week I can text them and just say, how are things going? Because I got to know them in some conversation. There was something about them that they were dissatisfied about. They were talking about their kids or whatever the note that I made in my phone of, met at grocery store, guy with kids, guy that had vodka cigars or whatever you said that the scenario had, is on there. And one other point I would love to make.
We can just call him Dad.
Right. When you're talking about social media, the other thing I love about social media, and if we're talking about personal development and books and stuff that have helped is there's a book by Gary Vaynerchuk called The Thank You Economy that really helped me learn how to serve others via social media. And I think that so many coaches I see on my team get caught up in, I don't have enough followers on Instagram or on Facebook, or do I need to make a business like page and get a bunch of people over there? And something I've recently started telling my team is stop focusing on how many followers you have, because at any moment of any given day, you can jump online and search weight loss, energy, new mom, struggling business owner, anybody that's talking about our products, and instead of hoping that conversation pops up anytime on social media. So go engage those people, ask questions. Instead of hoping that somebody saw your post that you did this morning, go search other people's pages. Go on Twitter and look for people that are already talking about their workout that morning or how they wish they had more motivation. There are people screaming on social media for help.
Now let me stop you, because that is so powerful, because that is what I want Team Beachbody to be. The point here, okay, I can remember walking through the hotel lobby of an event. It might have even been our second summit. It was tiny, but relative to the current ones. But I can remember walking through the lobby and hearing everybody talk about what workout they did, what they ate. Like they were talking, like it was like health and fitness was like all around me. I thought, boy, this is what I want. What I want is to just raise the decibel level of the lifestyle so that people don't just forget about it except for New Year's resolution time. So the fact that our coaches would engage in conversations with those kind of just follow up on topics that other people are raising, to not be pushy, but to be asking questions like, what fitness program are you doing? What have you tried? What didn't you like about that fitness program? What bothers you about your job? Those kind of provocative questions that can lead to a conversation that is productive. That's how we have a positive influence on people, instead of just being another one of those networks that's gross because we're trying to achieve Success Club for ourselves. That's what it's about, Jimmy. And I'm so glad you raised that, because people, hear that. They hear, engage in conversations on Facebook, and what they start to do is just promote, you can get $20 off your next product if you buy a challenge pack this month, which happens to be the case, but then people just see you coming like an advertisement, not a person who's going to help support people in their desire to be healthy and fit. So that's an important point.
Yeah, it was a big shift for me in my business, was asking those questions and stop, just go get in the, go out into, it's the grassroots thing, right? You got to go find the people, because, and I've said this before, and I told people, it may sound hokey, but I totally believe this. We don't sell health and fitness. We deliver hope to a world that desperately needs it. And everybody's on social media wanting to be heard, but nobody's listening. If you will be that coach that listens, you will dominate this thing, because you will be so rare as the person that actually listens to the other people who are crying out for help, and go and meet them where they are, instead of hoping that they're following you on your page.
So the only thing I want to twerk about what you just said was,
you twerk a lot, Carl.
I know, I'm addicted. I go to Twerkers Anonymous. That's TWA.
All right. Twerk it.
We love to twerk, and it shows.
Oh.
So anyway, I don't think we're the company that delivers hope. I think we're the company that delivers results in a very human way. And it's the results that come from holding people accountable to what they said that they wanted, versus to what an advertisement or what a salesman said was right for them. You understand that distinction?
Yeah, I see the distinction. The only reason I say it the way that I guess that I say it is, I remember when I started Power 90, and I tried a bunch of other things, and I really couldn't afford it, and there was no reason for me to start this thing. And I got it anyway. In the first 2 weeks that I started Power 90, that I also found the message boards, is I found a community, and I started seeing results. So this goes right into what you said, that we deliver the results. I saw more results and felt accepted by a community in the first 2 weeks of doing Power 90 that I had hope and was excited about something in my life for the first time in years.
Sure.
And so when I say deliver hope, I totally understand your tweak on that, because there's hope and then there's results. But because of the results is why I had a hope for my future, that I wasn't going to be stuck in the same rut that I had been in the previous 4 years.
Look,
But
I won't dispute that hope will play a role in people succeeding. Without a doubt, that hope that hope is going to be an element, a contributor to success. And certainly from the Beachbody Challenge, $500 daily winners, to the message boards, to stories like yours and everybody who's participated in this call, those stories of success give hope to people, but hope is not the end. And it's important to me that we understand that a coach's role is generating results, so that it's not just about getting the sale because you gave somebody hope. It's about seeing it through with that person if they're willing to step up so that they get results. Now, I'm getting close on time and I've got a couple other things to do, but I do need to ask you the question, what do you normally do in any given month in Success Club points?
My goal is always Success Club 10 by the 10th, which is a little thing that Tommy Migrant and I started before I think either of us had ever made Success Club 10. We just said, hey, if we're going to do this thing, let's hit 10 by the 10th, and everything else is gravy. So I shoot for 10 every month. I think my best month ever was right around 40.
Okay. So if you bring it this month, what do you think this month might be for you?
That's a good question. I knew it was coming. And, of course, Scotty Hobbs had to go, like, big boy pants with 40.
Well,
that means I got to throw out 42.
If
I'm going to be on this call, and we're going to lead by example and be a product of the product, I'm going to put down the number. I already have it literally sitting here on a piece of paper before I jumped on the call with you and circled it and said, let's go Scotty, underneath the number.
Okay, so if you're saying 42, that could very well put you in the top 25, which means I will personally be creating this area, this roped off area at the grand opening event. What do we call that party? The welcome reception at Summit, where I will have my top 25 my top 25 Success Club point earners at that little of November at that special roped off area. What kind of drink can I get for you?
Well, a chocolate Shakeology, of course, Carl.
That is so lame. There is no way you're drinking chocolate Shakeology at my private party. I'm sorry.
All right, and if there was a second drink, you may have a Don Julio on the rocks with extra lime waiting for me.
I don't know who he is, but I'll make sure he's on some rocks.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, just set him on some rocks in the corner and we'll be good.
I hope Don Julio likes to sit on rocks. That's all I can say. Okay, so with lime, you said?
Yeah, a couple of them.
So that's a couple of guys asking for lime. That sounds macho. It must be the new thing. So we'll definitely have that. All right. So, dude, I would love nothing more than to have you there with us behind the velvet rope, but I know it's going to mean making it happen. I hope you lean on your team to be there too. Let's see if we can fill that up with guys from your circle of influence who might help us really feed some people with this Feeding America promotion and make things happen this month.
Awesome, Carl. Let's do it.
All right, dude. I appreciate your being on the call, and have a great month.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Take
All right,
care.
man. Thanks.
Bye.